But at this time, ladies and gentlemen, we have one of the more special parts of a service that I've ever attended. I go to a lot of banquets, and rarely do you get to hear from somebody that is as special as a survivor. But tonight we are going to be honored with the presence of one of those survivors to tell a little bit of her story. And I'm going to ask that you give 100% of your attention, certainly all the respect she deserves, at this time as I invite surviving spouse Daniell Nielsen-Jenkins to the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Miss Daniell.
I'm glad it's dark. Hi. How was dinner? I didn't know I was going to be eating before I got up here. I would have wore more Spanx. I feel like most of us in our lives look at our life and there's a pretty divided line. It might be before high school or college graduation and then after, before marriage and kids and then after. But if you're a survivor, you know where that definite line is. It's the end of watch. That's where our lives are divided. Before end of watch and after end of watch. So it doesn't matter what I'm looking at or reading, if a date comes across the screen, it's either before August 16th, 2012 or after, because my life was completely changed that day. I am the surviving spouse of Deputy Brandon Nielsen, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself and Brandon so you can get an understanding of what our life was like about 10 years ago, which is surreal to say, because sometimes it feels like it was just last week that I heard his voice, and sometimes it feels like a lifetime ago. Brandon and I met not long after my divorce from my first husband. I've had a really great track record at marriage. He had a daughter, Gabby, from his previous relationship, and I had 3 sons. So he came with 1, and I came with 3. My sons, Tyler, Cody, and Jared. We connected almost instantly, and I can remember thinking how crazy anyone would be to take on a single mom with 3 boys. Even though now I know 3 girls would have been way more of a challenge. I'll tell you about that later. But he didn't waver. He loved me, and he was great with the boys. Now, they always had a very hands-on dad. So Brandon and my first husband, Sam's wife, Becky, the 4 of us co-parented very well. Brandon was just like a bonus dad to them. We all kind of supported each other. He was a great dad to his own daughter, but he was just in a supportive role with my kids. Gabby was only 5 when we got together. My boys were 8, 11, and 5. And this was in 2004 when we got married. So immediately, we were a big family. And it was kind of fun. A year later, on our first anniversary, came Lily. Now, he will argue and say that she was my gift to him. No, she was my gift to him. No, okay. So we argued about who was the bearer of the gift and who received the gift. We were a blended family through and through, and it just kind of worked. We attended all the boys' games and school functions together, and we were very supportive of them and what they chose to do. We were a united front, the 4 of us. People would often ask us after baseball games, how are y'all related? I'm like, well, that's their dad, and this is my husband, and that's his wife. I'm like, what? Yeah, that's what we did. It's what we knew we needed to do to make it work. Brandon was a law enforcement officer down to his soul. He was born and raised on the West Coast, so he was a giant C.O.P.S fan. and he always dreamed about riding a motorcycle. It's what he loved to do. He had definitely had a servant's heart, and he was really good at it. As you can see, he's not a small man, but he participated in lots of motorcycle rodeos, and he could maneuver that thing like crazy. He and his friend, JB, had a saying. They used to say, "Let's make it do what it do." So that's him making it do what it do. He could talk to anyone with respect and kindness that truly put him at ease. His passion was his motorcycle. He was kind, he was patient, he was funny. He was the kind of guy you wanted on your team always. He was loyal, he was caring, and he was really funny. Did I say he was funny? He was funny. Not as funny as me, but he was funny. Life with a big family and both of us having full-time jobs wasn't easy. It was time-consuming. It was a flood of baseball games, band performances. Those were probably the worst. Choir performances, dance recitals, all the things that come with raising kids. We were flying by the seat of our pants most times, but we were making it. We would sit around after the kids went to bed and imagine what our future would be like when it would just be the two of us, how much time we'd have on our hands. We would always joke with each other, "Don't you dare leave me with all of these kids." And it worked because it was us as a team, and I couldn't imagine life without him. And in all honesty, I had never considered what my life would be without him. Even in a career in law enforcement, it never crossed my mind. We lived in a pretty small rural town outside the big city of New Orleans, and even though there was crime, it was never dangerous or not any notable violent crimes that you would hear about from the big city. I remember years ago, NOPD was doing a huge recruitment, and they were offering these bonuses and salary increases, and we talked about it briefly. And I can remember telling him, I'd rather you be closer. I'd rather you be safer in a small town and here with us than working in a big city. We both agreed that was more important to us. Even though we were busy, we were always doing things with the kids. We would take time for the two of us, quick trips to the Gulf Coast, a long day train ride up to Mississippi and back, just the two of us. Quick, modest dinner dates, sometimes with Lily in tow. It wasn't anything fabulous, but it was us. We were content, both in careers that we loved. Money was tight, but it was okay because we had each other, and that was truly the most important thing. The week leading up to his end of watch was filled with normal things. It was mid-August, so before it was, sorry, Mr. Word. None of that made sense. It was mid-August, so the weekend before, while he was working, Lily and I went school clothes shopping. Now, she was 6 at the time. She is 16 now. There is no more shopping dates together. And if you have a daughter, you know what I mean. We would try on clothes and send Daddy pics, which he responded, "Cute," or "That's my girl," or whatever Dad responses are. I'm sure that's what they all would say. The very last picture I sent to his phone was the day she started 2nd grade. No front teeth and a front mouth. I mean, I love this picture. And I said, "Starting 2nd grade with a toothless smile," and I can't remember what his exact response was, but I'm sure it was something along the lines of, "Have a great day, Daddy loves you." His department had just elected a new sheriff, and with that came change. So he went from a traffic division working day shift back to patrol at night. And it had been a while since he had worked at night, so we were still kind of getting in the routine of that. Thursday morning, August 16th, 2012, I was awakened by a phone call. My mom, frantically asking me if Brandon was still at work. "What time is it?" "It's like 6:15. I don't know. Is Brandon home?" She kept saying, "Is Brandon home?" Like, I don't know. So I reluctantly turn over, and he's not there. And I said, why? What time is it? 6:15. The news reports saying that an officer's been shot in St. John Parish, and they don't have any other details. All right, Mom, I'll call him, but I'm telling you right now, if there's an officer-involved shooting, he's busy, and he's most likely not going to answer the phone. So I called. She texted me and said WWL, which is our local TV station. Tried to call him again. He didn't answer. I put on the news station, and I can vividly remember it's just a picture of the news anchor, and he's en route to the location, and he says, we're en route. We don't have any details. We just know that officers have been shot, and that's all we know. And it was at that moment that the sinking feeling kind of started. I'm like, oh. So I started to wrap my brain around the fact that he's shot. All right, I need to get dressed. I need to put some clothes on. I'm going to have to go to the hospital. Call him again, no answer. So the sinking feeling starts to kind of overwhelm me a little bit. I call the sheriff's office, and they answer, and I said, you probably can't tell me who's been hurt or involved, but I just want to make sure my husband is okay. And she said, what's your husband's name? And I said, Brandon Nielsen. And she said, can you hold on? At that moment, Anna Cox, who was the captain of dispatch, who I had never met, but Brandon talked very fondly of her. They were very good friends. She got on the phone and she said, hey, Danielle, it's Anna. I said, hey, Anna, what's going on? She said, Danielle, someone's on their way to come talk to you now. I'm like, Anna, just tell me where he is. I can go where he's at. She said, just hang tight. They're on their way to come talk to you. By that time, my mom was already on the way. Now I was already calling my friends and my family. My son Tyler was home. Lily was still home. They hadn't gotten up for school yet. Well, Tyler had graduated. And I was on the back patio, and I was on the phone, and I was calling. No one would answer the phone. Started calling my friends and family to come over. I think something's really wrong. They're on their way to come talk to me. That can't be good. So finally, one of his coworkers answers the phone. And I'm like, what is going on? What happened? And he is just sobbing. And I'm like, this is unbelievable. What is going on? That's when I knew. They pulled up in my driveway not long after. A few of my family members had already made it, and they didn't even say anything. They just shook their head because I already knew. I couldn't wrap my brain around it. He and another officer, Jeremy Trish, had been killed while responding to investigating another officer being shot at earlier that morning. Domestic terrorists, self-proclaimed sovereign citizens, living and working in our parish at a local refinery. It was unbelievable. It was like a movie. Everything's a blur. That whole week was a blur. And I can remember people saying, you're probably not going to remember, it's all going to be a blur. And I remember thinking, how could I ever forget any of this? It's so raw. Everything hurts. I'm worried for my kids. I don't know what I'm going to do. His wake and his funeral was 2 days, which I didn't even remember until we were talking about it the other day. I thought it was all one day. 2 days, over 5,000 people came through. And I stood and greeted each one of them because that's what he deserved. And I don't remember much, but I remember a lady. I know who she is now, Miss Dottie Tardy. She's a liaison for our local C.O.P.S chapter. And she held my hand and she put a C.O.P.S business card in my hand and she looked at me and she said, "You call these people, they can help you." Okay. And I don't know what it was about the way she said it, but I believe she is little, but I believed her. I believed her. My first C.O.P.S event was National Police Week, and it was me and my mom and 5 kids, and it was crazy. And we were shuffled from here to there, and it was probably a couple years later before Lily and I first started attending kids camp, which was absolutely life-changing for us. I didn't know how to help her. She was 6 when he died, and she just processed things a little different then. She didn't want anyone to cry in front of her. And then 3 years down the road, she's like, "Why don't you ever cry?" And I'm like, "I thought you didn't want me to cry. Like, I don't know what to do." It doesn't matter what I do. It's not the right thing. So I think they definitely helped us navigate grief and helping her and helping us. And where do I go from here? I don't even know what my place is anymore. I don't even know where I am on this page anymore. C.O.P.S Kids Camp. I went to Kids Camp, and I remember the day 2, I called Jenkins, because Jenkins and I we had just got engaged at the time. This is a few years later. And, in C.O.P.S, the name badge, right? If you're yellow, you're new. If you've been here before, you're blue. That's the deal. And I called him, and I said, "I don't know why anybody's walking around here with a blue name tag, because there ain't no way I'm coming back here. There is no way. I am exhausted. They make us do tons of things. It was exhausting." But at Kids Camp, they told me about Spouses Retreat. And they're like, Spouses is like your reward for Kids Camp. And I was like, well, I need a reward from Kids Camp. So then I started going to Spouses Retreat, and a couple of years later, we came back to Police Week, because at Spouses Retreat, you see, you learn all the things at the retreats. So at Spouses Retreat, they said, "Well, do you go to Police Week?" And I'm like, "I already went to Police Week." And they were like, "Well, are you going next year?" I'm like, "I didn't know people went back to Police Week. I thought you just went your 1 year." And I remember when people would introduce themselves to me, they would say, "Know their name." And I'm looking at the ladies that probably you were some of them that year in 2013. They would say their name, and they would say when their husband's into watch was, and I was thinking, yeah, there ain't nothing else to do but come back here every year. But now I get it. I get it. We come back because we help people, right? I didn't know. I thought you were just lonely. I don't know. So it has been an absolute godsend. Now, if C.O.P.S discovers a driving program to help my daughter to learn to drive a little better, I'd be great. Other than that, it's all good. My life looks a lot different now. High school and college graduations, getting remarried to an amazing man who's also in law enforcement, and just hoping to make it past 8 years. That's my limit so far, so he's just trying to, it's gonna be a big party, babe. It's gonna be a big party. So we took the blended family and we stuck it in a blender and we blended it up even more. Because now there's kids and there's wives and there's grandbabies, which are great. They're the best. And I have a new stepson, an amazing husband. And it looks so different. This is us when we got married. It's just crazy. The thing about life after loss is every happy occasion is tainted from here on out. Because high school graduation isn't just high school graduation. it's her dad should be here. And when the boys have kids, it's like, what would they have even called them? We didn't talk about that yet, so I don't even know. Nothing is the same. Some things I've learned from becoming a widow at 35. Some of the things that this amazing organization has taught me. Don't take life for granted. None of it. Not even the little things. The littlest things are some of my favorite memories. The smells, the sounds, all of it. Take it all in. Love with your whole heart. I'm with you, Miss Pat, on this one. Tell people you love them. Make it weird. They'll be all right. Just tell them. Losing it is okay. We all do it. And another survivor is only a phone call or a FaceTime away. Lean on us. That's why we're here. That's why we come back. Not because we're lonely. Some of the most important people in my life I met through C.O.P.S. I mean, some people that are near and dear to my heart, who I love with everything. Some of my best friends, and they're all over the country. So, like, we can go anywhere on vacation, and we should be able to shack up with anybody because we got people all over. Healing and grief are a journey, kind of more like a roller coaster. Some days you feel like you're up here, and the next minute you know you're just plummeting down. And it's okay, because you'll start to climb up again. It's quite a ride. Healing and hope are constant and never ending. Be grateful for the things that you have with your whole heart, and don't take anything for granted. And always treasure the little ones with no front teeth. Thank you.